I had a little notification on the calendar. I'm ready to go. I'm like, all right, man, I ain't gonna be late. Everything's gonna be perfect. It's gonna be killer. Can't figure out Facebook.
You were more prepared for this than anything that I've known you to be prepared for before. I mean, I know that you walk out on stages in front of thousands of people and have no clue what you're going to say until you get out there. And then me and you've been texting all day, and you're totally prepared for this. And then you're like, oh, you know what? It's just Stewman. I'll just mess up here this one time in my life. You know, I honestly thought that you were like Jesus reincarnated until this moment here. So it's nice to find out that you're actually human.
No, not even close. Not even in the same ballpark.
Now I feel better about my situation. So thank you, Frank. Once again, you have helped me. So,
dude, we've got the same painting. So I mean, we have a different version of the same painting.
Oh, really?
$100 bill thing that Brad had made for me. Jesus, I'm blanking, dude. Sorry, Rob, man. That Rob painted. So cool.
This is actually a gentleman. I have a Rob painting in the other room of Donald Trump on the $100 bill. But this one is actually by a guy out of Miami called Mr. E, who started all of that. There's only 2 people in the world that have this exact painting on their wall, me and Floyd Mayweather.
I don't go steal Floyd's.
Yeah, I'm scared of Floyd. I'm pretty sure he can beat me up, so I just decided to buy my own. Matter of fact, Frank, you'll find this hilarious. This was the first nice thing that I bought before the watches, before the Rolls Royce, and all this shit that it's your fault. But all these things that I own now, this was the first thing that I reached out to somebody, and I reached out to this guy on Instagram, and I said, man, I really like that painting. I want to buy it. And he goes, okay, awesome. I'll send you the instructions. What's your email address? And I sent him my email address, and it was $25,000. Right? Hey, but you know what? I'm no punk. I'm going to pay that shit. I said I wanted it. I'm a salesman. I'm going to buy it. And this was the nicest. This was the first anything for $25,000 other than a mastermind or a car that I'd ever bought. And now I'm proud because I found out that Floyd Mayweather paid $150 for his, So sometimes pricing is all about your ability to pay, right? Not necessarily what it's worth. So,
dude, you could sell that one to Floyd for $50 and be like, hey, man, I can see another one.
See, I like the way you think. This is why me and you've been friends all these years.
30% off or whatever the math is. The math is not an exact science. So are we broadcasting from Google to Facebook or something? That's amazing.
Into Facebook, yes. So
Star Trek, dude.
By the way, I give private workshops on this. If you'd ever like to attend one, it's only $4,997.
$49.99.95.
And I just came up with that number from the rectal extraction method that you've taught me over all these years. So
that's great. Okay, cool. So we're not letting anybody down. This is good. So I'm like, all right, man, we're waiting on people to show up on the YouTubes or whatever here.
Yep. So they're probably caught up now, and they're like, hey, where's the value in this? But so let me start all over from the beginning and introduce you like I so eloquently planned on doing in the beginning, and then we'll roll with it, Frank. So I appreciate your time here. So what's up, Entourage? You got to listen to how Frank and I communicate on a regular basis. And tonight I have a superstar for you. This is the guy that, he's one of the founding fathers, just like the founding fathers of our country. He's one of the founding fathers of modern day direct response digital marketing. If it wasn't for this guy, and he won't take credit for this, I already know how he's very humble and very handsome. And he hates when I say both of those things about him. But if it wasn't for this guy, I wouldn't be in front of you. If it wasn't for this gentleman, I wouldn't know what the hell to do. And it's a funny story how we met. And it's a funny story, the evolution that both of us have been through. And I think that it's important that you guys who watched Core Influence a few days ago with this long hair, barefoot stoner surfer guy, now seeing this clean cut multimillionaire guy who's about to bestow some infinite wisdom into you. It's funny how we met. I have this friend named Mike Reese. And for those of you that have really dove into my story, he's the agent that said, hey, Ryan, you should sell marketing to loan officers instead of going back into the mortgage business. And I was like, I don't know nothing about that. And me and Mike Reese, and he'll get pissed if I say this, that's why I'm going to say this. We were piss drunk and half stoned at a party together many years ago, about 8 years ago. And he goes, you got to check out this guy, Frank Kern. You'll love him. He's long-haired stoner surfer dude. He's totally your type of person. And that night I'm like, dude, get the fuck out of here with your, Mike's always like, and Reese is in a group with me and Kern, and I've known him for forever. And I'm like, get out of here with your business shit. We're over here getting fucked up, having a good time. Hell, I just want to, relax and enjoy the UFC stuff. And he's like, no, man, you seriously have to check this guy out. And so he sends me this link, and then Mike's the king of follow-up. The next day, he says, no, seriously, check this guy out. I'm like, fuck, all right, so fine. I checked this guy out, and he sends me this video which was like an excerpt from Mass Control, which was one of Frank's early on products. And that video opened my mind to the possibility of making money on the internet. I have been making money from social media and stuff like that in my mortgage business, but I had no idea that it was possible to make $24 million in 24 hours or whatever, $1 million in 24 hours or whatever the hell it was that was in that video. And it just like, wow. In my first impression, which was probably the impression you were trying to give everybody, Frank, was like, if this like long-haired surfer stoner dude can do this, then for sure I got this shit as a professional, right? And that's how he gets you, by the way. And that's so, exactly it. And so within a couple of months, I had an opportunity to join a program with him and Kevin Nations called One Man Millions. And I paid, I don't know, $8,000 or $10,000 for that. And within 2 days, I had my money back and learned this process. And it was the gateway drug that has continually caused me to go back to the dope house, that is Frank Kern's office, and get more and more of this information from him. This gentleman's changed my life in more ways than you know. And not just from a marketing perspective, Frank is honestly one of the most down-to-earth, genuine people I've ever met. There's a lot of people in this business that you'll pay $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 to. And as soon as you're not paying them anymore, you're chopped liver. They don't know who you are. They can't recall your name or anything like that. I feel like Frank is so good at marketing and so good at being a human being and so good at bestowing like karma on everybody that he actually cares about his people. And I sense that from people. I'm a no bullshit person. I sense that from people. So I've gone back to Frank time and time again, spent, I don't know how much money, that doesn't matter. But every time I feel fulfilled. And let me tell you how good of a person he is. About 9 months ago, it's probably less than that, but we'll just say 9 months ago, I hit Frank up and I said, I need help. If you haven't noticed, I have a temper. And I'm losing my mind, and I'm doing well in business, but I'm pissed off all the time. I have the perfect life, fast cars, a beautiful wife, 3 kids that are probably going to be presidents, politicians, whatever they want to be in life. They're in private school, and I'm fucking mad every day. What do I do? And don't you tell me to go see Tony Robbins. Tell me somebody who's really going to help me. And he says, I've got the solution for you. You need to see this guy named Dr. George Pratt. And I went, okay, you know what? I don't doubt anything that Frank tells me. And I went and saw Dr. George Pratt. And Frank was so adamant that, I think I said that word right, adamant, that I saw Dr. Pratt, that he said, you can even take one of my Rolls Royce to see him. And I'm not an invasive person. So I was like, well, I appreciate that. And I have driven both. I have driven everything but the Phantom that you own right now. But yeah. I said, you know what? I'll go and see him before I come and see you. And Frank cared enough about me not to just, say, hey, let me take your money and teach you about marketing. But because of the relationship he has with Dr. Pratt, it changed my life. You guys know I'm not the same person. I had a hater today that was talking all sorts of trash, and I turned the guy into a fan. I mean, because of Dr. Pratt and the connection between Frank and him taking me in his office, my life has totally changed. And I can't thank you enough, Frank. You're an amazing human being. I love being around you. You're probably top, I got family and shit, but you're definitely top 6 people in my life, man. And I can't thank you enough. And dude, I know you don't do stuff like this. It's apparent because you had no idea how to. And I know you don't do guest appearances and things like that. But I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for changing my life and for everything you do, not just in the marketing sense, but just in the true, genuine, awesome human being you are, man. And so it's my honor and pleasure to introduce you to my friend Frank Kern.
Well, man, no pressure now. You know, I'm gonna live up to that. I remember that, dude. I also remember like 9 years ago or something. Your video done blowed up, but I think you're
still there, man. No worries. I just cut it off so they focus on you.
I remember like 9 years ago or something. Oh, now I got it. Okay, now I see. When I'm talking, it doesn't show you. All right. You were going through some shit, and I saw it on Facebook, and you were like incriminating yourself that could hurt you in family law. And I remember reaching out to you, and I was like, "Hey, dude, ixnay on like talking about that stuff. It, you know, cut that out." And you were like, "I can't believe you wrote me and told me that." I'm like, "Hell yeah, I wrote you and told you that, man. No need for you to be getting in any kind of trouble or whatever." But I remember that was like totally blew your mind. And you know what's cool about that whole point? It's not that my doing that was a big deal. It's that nobody else does it, which really brings to the point, if you're just even half-ass of a pretty good person, people are going to think you're pretty amazing, because most people are stupid. That's a shitty thing for me to say, and it sounds very elitist. But if you, I mean, you talk about it all the time in the force of average. Like if you're just slightly above average, you know, then people are like, "My gosh, this is absolutely unbelievable. This person is a super cool guy." So there's a lot to that.
Well, you know, I want to share something with you, and I'll share it in front of our audience here as well, Frank. But what you were talking about is when I was going through a divorce, and I was talking about getting high in Cancun with Amy, who is now my wife. But my ex-wife and I have the best relationship possible for two people that are bringing up blended families. And this is the message that I just sent her at 6:53 today, after we both jointly spoke to my son today. And I said, "Hey, I wanted to thank you for being a great ex-wife. We probably have a better relationship than 100% of other broken families. We're blessed to put the efforts on our child and not take issues out on each other. I'm grateful you're Jack's mom, and we make better parents apart than we did together, but I have to admit, we're a perfectly blended family. I appreciate you for respecting Amy, my wife, and my other sons as well. Thank you. We're all family." And you don't realize the ripples that you send in people's lives like mine. And dude, I'm a wretched soul, right? I'm not carrying as much baggage these days as I used to, but I used to have the full Louis Vuitton lineup of all the baggage.
The wooden kind, the big wooden ones, you know, that other people
have. My life in more ways than you even know, sir, and I appreciate you.
That's good, man. Shit, I need to go back and see Dr. Pratt, because I don't know if I'd send anything that friendly to so I'm like, okay, I might need to go for a fill up.
In all reality, those California child support and alimony bills are a lot different than Texas, too.
It is a little painful. Still, that's great that you sent that. That's a big deal.
It is to me, and it will be to her and my son in the future as well. You know, if I died today, she'd be like, "Your father's a great man who really cared about you," you know, and that's really what matters most. So, all right. So switching from all the, you know, high-fiving each other and everything else.
I would draw a penis on your forehead if you died today, and I just want you to know that is kind of and part of the rules there, that if you die young, especially if it's as a result of any past history of partying or whatever, right on the forehead.
And you know what? I would expect nothing.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. That's so.
I'm probably going to add that into my will. It's like, hey, when you bury me, make sure.
Yeah, just marker. Yeah.
And I don't think, I think actually the eggplant emoji would be more fitting for your and I relationship than an actual dick. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I could draw one of those. It doesn't matter.
So the first thing that I want to talk about, I want to get to business, is branding. And when I told the people that are a part of this group, there's about 700 people that are a part of our inner circle, as you would call it. We call it entourage. But branding is huge for them. And when I told them to watch your core influence video, which changed my life, you know, I designed my perfect life, and I live it today, Frank. Everything that I wrote, only thing that I'm missing is I wanted a view of the ocean from my house. But once I realized that the way of life in California is a lot different than the way of life in Texas. I decided that I could deal without the ocean and have everything else, right? And everything that I wrote in that perfect day exists now. My wife, I mean, I even wrote things like, my wife will drop my kids off in private school and go to yoga. And I never told Amy to do this, but that's her natural thing to do anyway. And a lot of people seen that video in the last few days because I wanted them to watch it before they join this. And they see this long-haired stoner surfer dude that didn't even care to wear shoes or dress up or anything else. And now we're seeing a guy who lives in mansions with short hair and carries himself completely different. And I know why you did that, but I think that it's important for a branding perspective for you to explain to the people in this group, because a lot of them, not a lot of them, all of them are leveling up, which is why they're in this group. So, and I know, but I think it would be nice if you would explain to them why you shifted from who you used to be. You're still the same person at core, but who you used to be and the appearance you gave off versus the appearance and things that you have nowadays as a brand.
It's well, there's a lot of layers to it, so I'll tell you all of them, and then if it gets boring or something, cut me off. So that you're talking about an era that started 2006 or something and really ended in 2011. And I had made a decision when I moved to California and when I came out here, I didn't have a shitload of money. And but I was doing pretty good, and I was like, I'm going to completely withdraw from the real world. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to live at the beach. I'm going to smoke weed all the time. I'm going to surf. And I knew I was very, very good at advertising and marketing, mainly because I worked really, really hard and continue to work really, really hard at being good at advertising and marketing. And I knew that it didn't care if I looked, it didn't matter if I looked like a total weirdo, and I was a total weirdo. So, part one of that whole thing would be, all right, did you contrive the brand back in the day? And the answer would be no. I really did live at the beach. I had white blonde hair. I didn't color it. Not there's anything wrong with coloring it or whatever, but I was in the ocean about 4 hours a day and surfed all the time. And not only did I smoke weed all day, but I would typically start drinking alcohol around 3 o'clock or so in the afternoon. And for me, like a 6-pack was just didn't even count, And so the behavior and everything that I had back then was largely a function of that lifestyle, which was largely a function of me being very unhappy in my life because I was unhappy with my home life and all of that stuff. And that's the only way that I knew how to deal with it. So my behavior and appearance changed for multiple reasons. Number one is one day I went to a doctor to get blood work done for some random thing where I had to have blood work, I don't know, insurance or something. It was a doc in the box kind of. So I didn't even have a primary care physician. And I go in there and the guy's like, dude, your blood pressure's really, really high. And the night before I had drank like 3 bottles of champagne and Osteria Romantica. And he's like, your blood pressure's super high. I'm like, well, I'm nervous, And he's like, how much do you drink? And I told him, which was a lot, because what I didn't really think anything of it. And he's like, lay down for a minute. And he starts poking my liver and it hurt real, real bad. And he's like, all right, that hurts really, really bad because your liver is distended and you're going to die if you keep doing this. And it never had occurred to me at all that that was unusual behavior, and that wasn't just normal, because that's just how I grew up, as a blues musician, if you can count an affluent white kid as being a blues musician. So I was a blues enthusiast, that played guitar, and I had started drinking very heavily at age 15. And it was just always normal for me. So when he told me that, it scared the shit out of me. And I was like, all right, I don't want to die. I believed him. Like, this guy was like yelling at me, like in my face. He was just a random dude in a, medical clinic from Brooklyn. That's like, hey, you're fucking stupid. You're too young. You're killing yourself. This is the abuse level. You got to pull it together. I'm like, shit, dude. Okay. So I stopped partying that hard. And the minute I stopped partying that hard, I realized that like all of the stuff that I had built, I didn't want it. And I realized, wait a minute, I'm attracting these customers that are like I was at the time, which didn't want to really work that hard. And they weren't really serious about business. They were just more interested in making a fast buck. And there's nothing wrong with that. I wouldn't want to attract those customers today. But once I realized all of that, I was like, all right, I don't want to do this anymore, And So I stopped, and I stopped doing the, typical product launch scene and the affiliate marketing scene, and unsuccessfully tried a couple of other ventures. And the reason I got a haircut, incidentally, it was largely accidental. So my version back in the day of getting a shower was going in the ocean. So to me, that counted as washing your hair. I was like, oh, shit, I was in the water, I'm fine. And because of that, I got my hair was all fucked up and was breaking off. So I go to this chick, say, hey, give me like a Richard Branson haircut or something, like leave it kind of long but cool looking. She's like, all right, no problem. Gives me the coolest haircut ever. I'm like, this is freaking amazing. Month later, go back to her. I'm like, hey, give me that same haircut you gave me. She ends up giving me this haircut that looks like Tony Robbins from like 1987 with the like real big helmet, So I'm like, fuck. So I'm like, all right, I got to fix this. So I go to this barbershop in Pacific Beach, California called Lefty's Barbershop, which has 3 barbershop chairs. I hadn't been to a barbershop in like 20 years. And I have like level 7 billion social anxiety. So if you put me in a small confined space with people I don't know, I'm immediately very uncomfortable. So I get in there, sit in the fucking chair. There's all these dudes all around. And the guy's like, what do you want? And it's like one of these like kind of tough guy barbershop places. And the only reason I went to it was called Lefty's, and it just sounded cool. And I didn't want to be like, well, I kind of want you to make me look like Ryan Gosling or something from that movie Crazy Stupid Love or whatever. So I'm like, fuck, dude, I don't know. And the guy beside me said, give me a number 1 fade. And I was like, fuck, I'll get that. Didn't know what a number 1 fade was. So my man at the barbershop was like, all right. And then he gave me essentially a shorter version of the haircut I have today. And that's why I have short hair. So it was never like, I'm going to like deliberately cut my hair and look like a legitimate person or whatever. It was an actual circumstantial thing that happened because number 1, I wasn't fucked up out of my mind anymore. And number 2, I'm so weirded out that I didn't want to like try to explain to that guy how to give me a haircut. I just say, give me a number 1 fade. And that's what a number 1 fade looks like. No, the whole like part of acting differently in front of the camera and on stage is twofold. Number 1, I'm no longer totally fucking blasted, which I was throughout that entire era. So really from like 1987 until 2011, I was completely wasted all the time. Like I'll meet people and they say, yeah, I saw you at this thing. I have no idea what they're talking about. People say, I went and saw the stage presentation. You gave this talk. I really enjoyed it. No clue what they're talking about to this day. I couldn't tell you, And so I'm without feeling like that anymore. You kind of don't act like that. And then there's a difference between being, 46 years old and 36 years old, which is when people first saw that original brand from the Mass Control days. And so, a lot of it's just being not dead, not blasted, and older, So with all of that aside, which is kind of like irrelevant from the concept of branding, there is a lot of deliberation in what I do now, which I think is probably more what you're interested in. So sorry, I rambled. I've literally been on the phone all day. So like my brain's a little bit scattered, Been talking to clients who rudely expect things in return for their money. The deliberation is number 1, I try to dress much nicer and carry myself differently as a sign of respect to the audience. So to me, it's like, all right, if you're going to invest this time with me, I'm going to demonstrate to you that I respect you enough to come off not like stuffy, but in at least a professional manner. So that's thing number 1. Thing number 2, I'm very deliberate about who I want to attract. And because of that, I don't do, shit that would attract people that don't have a lot of money to invest in things like advertising. And so you always want to kind of mirror, you always want to reverse engineer what do these people need to see and hear and believe to be true in order to want to do business with you. And I don't say it from the perspective of like, how can we trick them? It's like, what can we demonstrate to these guys to be true? So probably longest answer ever. Sorry, but that's kind of that's the backstory,
Well, and it's made a significant change in your life. Like, you went from attracting these get rich the lazy way, which I think was actually one of your products names at one time, to I could be wrong, but
I owe the world an apology if I created that. Like, sorry, everybody, dear entire planet. Sorry, Frank. Yeah.
But at the same time, now your program and the thing that you're teaching people is your next million. And so your branding, your messages changed. It went from how to make your first million online to your next million, which is people who've already established themselves, which takes me back to the number one rule that I respect in sales, which is stop selling to fucking broke people. Yeah. And broke people are attracted to a guy with, no offense, right? But to a guy with long hair and no shoes that surfs all day and smokes pot and says that he's making $30 million a year on the internet without having to work at all, versus who you are today that says thou shalt work on the offer every day. Thou shalt work thy ass off, right? Like those are the 10 commandments of Frank, right? Just in case you guys are
big offers. Yeah.
And it's made a huge difference in the people that are attracted to your events. I went to events early on versus the events now, and the people are completely different. I had one of your clients this week who's a friend of mine. You know her. You told me to reach out to her. She didn't have my new phone number. And I said, hey, Brooke, I heard that you were looking for me. How's everything going? The first thing she sent me, Frank, was a screenshot that she's
I know it, and she's such a show off.
She's done over $11 million this year. You would have never, and she's such a professional, amazing woman. You'd have never attracted her with the old Frank. And so I think it's important that we share to the people watching this about knowing your audience and like you said, respecting them, but in the same sense, putting out not a fake it till you make it, but putting out the true persona to attract the right person. Because I know your story just because I know you well. And those get rich quick people drove you crazy. You hated them. That's why you're an introvert and everything else, versus someone like Brooke, when she comes over your house, you probably gave her your address, just like I have your address, and Carl White and all these other people have your address, and invite them over for dinner and everything else, versus, oh, Jesus Christ, I hope John Smith, the freaking stoner loser, doesn't talk to me, you know?
Yeah. I actually want to hang out with y'all. It's important, man. It's like, I've got plenty of regrets and everything, but professionally, one of them is not understanding that you can get really whoever you want. I mean, this is assuming, of course, that you can deliver the value and you can make good on your big mouth promises and everything. But you can sell to anybody that you want to. And a $10 yes isn't significantly easier than a $10,000 yes. And in many cases, the $10,000 yes is easier to get, but you can't get it doing dumbass, get rich quick type of stuff. And the saying that I always like to use is, look, you can't catch whales with minnow bait. So if you want whale clients, and these are customers of clients that are going to spend a lot of money with you, you can't put out that bait that's going to be attracting minnows. Like whales don't eat, little balls of bread. That's what we used to try to catch little fish in the Keys when I grew up. They ain't going to bite it, so you have to put out the right stuff. And a really critical takeaway is, and you hit on this, and it's definitely not fake it till you make it. I wouldn't ever suggest like, okay, try to pretend to be somebody who you're not. Like I know this kid, Ryan O'Donnell, who I think he's 19 now. I met him when he was 16. He's one of the only two pure natural talent people I've ever seen in my life in the field of marketing. And he didn't try to pretend to be anything he wasn't. He's got clients paying him like $5,000 a month for consulting. He works with Dean Graziosi he'll probably end up like running Dean's operation, or at least co-running it, with Tanner and Jeremy over there. And he didn't try to act like anything he wasn't. It's just, you just have to speak their language and be very confident. And most importantly, demonstrate you can help by actually helping them.
That's so true, and a lot of in my past, I had the same persona as you. I was like, I was stoner. I was partying all the time. I was doing things I didn't want to. And some of the people in this group know my story. And I know I spoke with you about it in November of last year when it happened. And I looked up and I was surrounded by all these people that were also on drugs and also trying to fake it till they make it. And I wasn't a fake it till you make it guy. I've been fortunate enough to be top producer in every sales job I ever had. And I've been, despite all the flashy things you see today, like the fancy watch and the Rolls Royce and the McLarens and all that, I have worked my ass off in every job. And I found these people attracted to me that were looking for like a cheap, easy, lazy way where they could be stoned all day and still make a significant amount of money. And they drove me nuts, you know, and you know, thank God or whatever you believe in for divine intervention, that sometimes those people will leave your life and leave you off in a better place. But I know that firsthand, man. And I know you, in the sense of these days, you're a lot happier. You, like you said, hey, you have no problem. You actually like the people that come to your events. You actually like them. You get to pre-screen them, and you get to make sure that you actually want them to know where your office is, and you want them to know where Rancho Valencia is, and all these places that we go together. You provide, you know, first class Rolls Royce Phantom service to them and back and forth from the airport and everything else. And you know, there would have, if you were still selling, we will call it minnow bait for your example, but if you were still selling $10 ebooks, you would never be able to attract the type of people like me, who's on track to do 8 figures this year, just like Brooke and several other people that have been in your groups who are on track to do 8 figures in a year. And that branding shift, even though it was an accident that they cut your hair, it was like you just embraced it and said, hey man, this was divine intervention. I just need to keep going with this.
Yeah, and it's the language is a lot, you know, I mean, you can't like look like a psychopath and expect to do a pretty good job, but it's what you're saying and doing that's a little bit more important than the exterior appearance. So that's like, if you look online, you know, and in like the internet marketing space, where I'm sure that our audience that we're talking to right now is extremely familiar with that. Like, you'll see people that are standing in front of really cool cars and they look like they've got it all, but what they're saying is absolutely stupid. And then you'll look at someone who's just standing on their porch or whatever and doesn't look flashy or anything, but what they're saying is actually really, really good. And you're going to listen to the one who's actually giving you good information. So like the real critical component ever is going to be focus on the delivery of what you're presenting to the market way more than what you're wrapping that delivery in, you know? So if like, if you don't try to look flashy or whatever, that's not real. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with having cool shit and showing it. Obviously, it's pretty fun. We're both kind of guilty of doing that, but it is not even remotely going to be a substitute for just being able to like look a prospect in the eye, whether it's on camera, in person, in print, or whatever, and be like, hey, man, if you're having this problem, I know exactly how you feel. And the reason why I know exactly how you feel is because I've been there. And when I was there, here's what I experienced. And here's what else I experienced. If you're experiencing this, I can understand why you're experiencing it. And man, I felt the same way too. And I wanted to share with you, like, here are 3 things I found to help you get out of that. Thing number 1 is this. Thing number 2 is this. Thing number 3 is this. And by the way, if you want some help getting out of that, I'd be happy to talk to you. And who knows, maybe I'm the person to work with you. Maybe I'm not. But I can promise you one thing is, you know, in our conversation or interaction, you're going to leave probably feeling a little bit better than you did before you had it. So there's really not a whole lot to lose by giving it a shot. So if that sounds good for you, do the next thing, click here, call a number. Like, so I just kind of scripted a very simple, non-bullshit way to actually deliver the value and make a pitch at the same time, which is 7 billion times easier, you know, than trying to do all of the posturing and all of that kind of stuff. And between me and you, I hope all the posturing and shit gets worse. Like, you know, we should create a fake course, like how to, you know, posture your way into riches or something, and give it away just so everyone will continue doing really horrible, stupid marketing, so we can have a competitive advantage. You know,
I like the way you think. You know, it's true. I've never seen Tony Robbins in front of a Lamborghini. I've never seen, you mentioned Dean Graziosi. I have no idea what he drives. You know, Cody Sperber, who's another big guy that's making a bunch of money in the real estate niche. I've never seen what he drives. I've never seen what Frederick Eklund drives. Like, you're right. And the reason why those guys don't have to show you what they drive or where they live is because their message resonates with you. If they were driving a 1973 Pinto and Tony Robbins started, you know, mentoring you and talking to you about your issues, you wouldn't give a shit about that. You'd just be like, Tony Robbins is humble, but he's on his shit, you know?
Yeah, I just had a realtor that knew everything about the properties that I was considering pick us up in it was a Toyota. I don't know much about normal cars. So it was a Toyota something. It was like little. And it had plastic hubcaps, and like the paint was chipping off the plastic on one of them. I didn't give a damn. I'm like, all right, you want me to sit in front or in back so you don't have to move your purse? Let's go. Because she knew what she was talking about. And I knew that this person was going to give me good intel and wasn't going to BS me. And that's really the most important thing. So I guess the question becomes, all right, well, how do you really craft exactly what it is that you should be saying that can demonstrate? Because like the name of the game now is demonstration. It's, it used to be, let's put on a show and entertain and everything, but it really is demonstration. And so if you can demonstrate, you can help, then you don't have to do any of that stuff. So I think the real question is, what is the formula for, coming up with exactly what to say? And if you want, I can walk you all through it.
Yes, we definitely want that, sir. Please walk us through it.
All right. So I always forget the number of questions, but I never forget the actual questions themselves. So the first thing you do is you start by figuring out, okay, what is the offer and what's the conversion mechanism of the offer? So let's say the offer is, for your high ticket stuff. And so it's going to be the thing that you charge like 40 G's for, or whatever, that you effortlessly sell, which is insulting to me how easy it is for you to sell it, because it's harder for me to sell that stuff. But my clients always do better than me. So whatever, you and Brooke keep showing off. That's fine. All right. So let's say that's the thing. All right. So that's the offer. And then the next step is, what's the conversion mechanism, which means what's the thing going to be that sells it? Is it going to be a conversation? Is it going to be a webinar? Is it going to be opt into an elaborate, super duper funnel 2000? All right. So that's question number one. That's just for your own frame of reference to develop a campaign. The second question now becomes, who do you want as a customer? And like the more you can get specific about this, the better, to a degree. All right. So the answer to that question is no longer going to be this, let me build the perfect customer avatar, like what I talked about in Core Influence. His name is Bob, he works at the bank and all of that kind of stuff. It now becomes, all right, who is going to be the perfect person to actually buy this thing, in relation to the outcome that it can provide. Right. So let's say your big thing is like how to get your shit together and sell better. So then that answer to the question might be, okay, well, I want someone who's doing $1 million a year, who knows they could be doing 5 or 10 or 15 or whatever. And they're extremely frustrated that they're not, because other people are, and they understand that there's something missing. So that's that. So we're not getting all hardcore into how old they are or any of that kind of stuff. We're just thinking, all right, what's the big picture? So now the third question is going to be, and this is really, really critical, and that's going to be, what do they want, right? And so the takeaway from this whole chunk right here is everything you do is about them, the other person. Every single activity ever, period, until you keel over, is about that customer and that prospect. So we make a real big list, like what do they want within relation to the services we can provide? Well, they want, they want more money. They want consistent revenue, whatever it may be, right? They want more brand recognition in their space. Perhaps they want to be on the same level of peer acceptance or branding as XYZ and their competitors, or they want to do better than their competitors, or whatever it is. So you make that exhaustive list, right? And then the next question is going to be, what are they frustrated with? What are their pain points? Right? What do they not want? So that might be inconsistent revenue. It might be it's driving them crazy that they can't get paid media to work. It might be driving them crazy that nobody will promote them or whatever. And then within that subset of the question, you might also ask things like, what are they sick of and what is repelling them? So when I did it for our own company with the intent-based branding stuff, I knew that the folks that I wanted to target were really tired of seeing people in front of flashy cards or whatever. Again, I mean, I'm not dogging people for being in front of flashy cards. I've got a bunch of them. You've got more than me. I mean, I feel better about myself looking at your car collection, because I don't think it was bad of a problem. It's like when you drink a lot, you're like, I don't drink as much as that guy, so I'm okay. That's the thing. I've only got 2. I mean, you really have a problem, so I'm fine. So then, you make that list of like, all right, what is it? What's turning them off? So we have all that data on them. And then the final piece here is, what must they believe to be true in order to want to do business with me? And this is really, really big, right? And typically your brain is going to bullshit you, and it's going to say whether, you're going to have to have 1 million followers, or else they're not going to think you're significant, or you're going to have XYZ. And then you have to turn it off. You're like, no. What do they have to believe to be true in order to want to do business with me? So my answer to this, because we're ultimately now an ad agency is what my company is, aside from the private client work that I do with you and Reese and Brooke and all of our homies and everything in our inner circle, the big push now is towards a branding agency. So if I were answering that question, I'd say, well, number one, they believe that advertising is a good investment. All right, that's a big one. Okay. Number two, they believe that the function of any business is to simply multiply capital, which is what advertising does when done correctly. Number three, they need to believe that the strategy that we're using works. Number four, they need to believe that we know what we're doing over here at the agency. So whatever it is, you make that list. And so now what you have when you look at the answers to all those questions, of which I think there were 6 in total. Oh shit, dude, I forgot one. Knew I was going to forget one. What are the emotions associated with their frustrations? Sorry. So we want to have that one in there. All right. So now that we've got the answer to all that stuff, now you've got raw material for assembling the message. And now assembling the message becomes very easy. And it's typically for us, when we build it for ourselves or build it for clients, it's a really simple framework. You just start out and seed. And seeding means you just tell them who you are and what you do. So I might say, hey, Frank Kern here. I've been advising online entrepreneurs and helping them grow and scale their businesses since 1999. That's it. Number two is you introduce the opportunity or the problem. So I might say something like, so many clients come to me because they've hit a ceiling. They're at the $1 million or $2 million mark and they know they can get better and they're spending money on ads, but they're just having a little bit of trouble scaling the ads, or sometimes some of the stuff that they've been doing is no longer working as well as it had been. So that's simply number two. In that case, I'm introducing a problem. If I wanted to introduce an opportunity instead, I would look on my little sheet of paper under what do they want in relation to what I have. And I might say, so many clients come to me because they're doing well and they know that there's a lot of potential out there and they can do better. And they're running ads and their ads are working. And the logical question for them is, how do I put more money and pour more gas onto this fire? So regardless, you're going to go one of those two directions. So the next phase of this is then we just throw in the emotion that's associated with it. So we'll go back to the discussion of the problem, right? So if I were to say, most clients come to me because of what they've been doing forever is no longer working. Their emails aren't getting opened as much or whatever, or they've hit a ceiling on their scale or on their paid media or whatever. And I might say, and because of this, they come to me and they're really, really frustrated because, they keep trying different things and they'll get results for a little while and then it'll stop working. Or sometimes they're really freaked out because they spent years building this giant email list and, their open rates and their click rates and their responses just keep getting lower and lower. And what we're doing there is we're just showing the empathy, right? So it's like in that first little chunk, what we've done is number one, introduce yourself and seeded the fact that you have something, right? Like I help people do this. That was my seeding. Number two, I'm demonstrating to them that I understand their problem and I know how they feel. And that is one of the best lessons I ever learned. It's from Evan Pagan. He's like, dude, if you can describe somebody's situation better than they can, you got them. So that's all I'm doing right there. But I'm just using that raw material, right? So now I've associated the emotion, and our next step in the framework of how we build brand messaging that demonstrates, your shit instead of having to be flashy, is we will make a point. And so we'll give some sort of big picture point, right? So if I were doing it for our own agency, I'd say, what we have found is the cure for these problems is something called intent-based branding. And the way it works is similar to how email marketing used to work, where you put out really, really good content based on a specific framework. You track who's watching that content, and then you retarget them with ads. And when you do that, it allows you to immediately build that relationship and that bond with them before you start selling, which causes everything else to be more effective. So that's just me making the point, right? So the next phase is you're going to tell a story, and the story is going to illustrate the point, right? So I might tell the origin story about how I discovered that methodology or whatever. Your final phase is a useful tip, right? So it's just some little thing that they can actually walk away with and do. So I might say, if you want to test this out for yourself, here's what I want you to do. And I might give them a little framework on how to make a goodwill video or something like that. And then you close. And the close is, all right, hope you enjoyed this as much as I like making it for you. Take it easy. So what that whole thing did, which I know, dude, I'm like talking 7 million miles per hour, but I really don't want to let you guys down. So it's like, I want to give you the best I can, So it's like what that little piece does is if you put that in front of the person that you want, it's hyper magnetic to them. right? Because they're saying they're here's what's going on in their mind. Oh, that guy does this. Okay, I'm kind of interested in that result. Holy shit, that guy is talking to me. He knows exactly what I'm going through. He's described my problem to a T. He's told me exactly how I feel, so he has that empathy. He just gave me this concept that sounds pretty cool. He demonstrated and illustrated the concept with a story, which I can now understand. Now, he's probably not logically thinking that, but that's what's going on in his brain. Then he's like giving me something useful to do. I actually can go, I'm feeling like I got a little bit of these results in advance already. And then he just told me to see you later. Goodbye. That's the damage. So that's like completely opposite of everything, the market is experiencing, which gives you this whole other slew of benefits, which number one, they like you, right? They know, like, and trust you, which we can't sell shit unless we've got that. And they likely believe the things you need them to believe because you've just demonstrated you can help them by actually helping them, right? And now you're set up to make an offer later. So our strategy and what's working is then we would retarget someone who saw something like that with an offer video, which might, say, hey, if you want us to do this kind of stuff for you, we'll be happy to, or whatever. But the offer video is not nearly as important at this phase than like how to get that forward-facing goodwill stuff out. So that's the magic formula.
I agree. That's what we've been using in our business. We give these what you call intent-based branding videos, and then we retarget the people who watch the videos. I've been teaching that to the people back here as well, because I always say people got to buy from people they know, like, and trust. First, they got to know you. Then they've got to make a decision whether they like you or not, which for a guy like me might be 6 months. They might think I'm a douchebag for the first 90 days. And which I, who am I to argue? And then be like,
oh, Vaynerchuk, dude, I hated Gary Vaynerchuk for years, and now I'm like, damn it, that little bastard was right this whole time, and now I feel like a dick, So it's like you really like can convert people doing this stuff like in the long run, which is a big deal.
I felt that way about Ty Lopez, who's another one where I was like, this freaking guy. And then I watched more and more of his videos because they're everywhere. And I'm like, actually, dude's pretty smart. He's making
a really nice, like, I don't know Ty well, but he came in, this is before he like really blew up, but he took my advanced consulting course. So I think he was doing owned a bunch of online properties that had nothing to do with the current brand at all. And he was the nicest dude. Like, I didn't know this guy from Adam. He was like, hey, I'm having this party at my house. You want to come over? Like, constantly inviting me to do cool shit. So I know exactly what you mean. It's like, but here's the cool thing about all this stuff is if we accept this fact to be true, we don't have to like this fact, but I think we have to accept it to be true, which is that people judge each other. We do judge a book by its cover. Right. And that can either be by appearance or whatever. If we understand that the fact of the matter is people are going to judge us, then it makes a lot of sense to be like, well, if we can't change that, why don't we control how they're going to judge us and then engineer exactly what needs to occur for them to judge us in the way we want them to? And if you follow the framework that we're talking about right now, it's all built upon goodwill and genuine value to people. So it's kind of this, it's like we're tricking them by being nice to it and helping them.
Tricking them by doing what's right.
That'll show them. The old demonstrate we can help them by actually helping them. Trick. Take that.
Yeah, that's how we get you. So
we get them right there.
Last thing, because these typically are 30 minutes. I appreciate you going over with me. And so what would you say are like the three main components to successful marketing in the modern era? So name three things that you think somebody in this group should be doing on a consistent basis to make sure that they are marketing, attracting the right people, and growing their brand in the modern area of social media and all this other stuff.
All right, cool. I might have to wrap it around the way of thinking. Okay. And the way of thinking is to understand this fundamental truth. I don't give a fuck what you're selling. And if you don't agree with me, then you're wrong. And I normally don't talk this aggressively, but this is just how it is.
I have that effect on you. You're like, I'm with Stuman. Fucking,
it doesn't matter. All bets are off, So I don't care what you're selling. Your business is the capital multiplication business, period. That means you're in the business of taking the dollar and sticking it into some sort of system and getting more than $1 out. And, for internet people or any business, most businesses, that's going to be in the form of advertising, right? And it even works like you take a used car guy goes to a car auction with $1,000. He buys a used car for $1,000. So he's taken his capital, $1,000, put it into a system, which is he has got this used car and he has now cleaned the used car up, and now he's going to sell it for $500. He has multiplied the capital. That's all he's done. So if we understand that all business is the multiplication of capital, then we need to understand that the fastest way to multiply capital in the business world is through effective advertising. And the numbers just don't lie. You know, I mean, if you look at like Ryan, your campaigns, you know, I think I was making fun of you about this because you're mad. And it was like you were getting 50% return every 30 days. I'm like, dude, you know, do it in real estate. Do it in the stock market. You just can't do it. So like the return on money in advertising when done properly is exponentially higher than everything else, period. So if we take that as fundamentally true, here are the things, right? So thing number one is develop the magnetic whale bait messaging. That's it. So that's number one. Thing number two is put that out constantly and make the barrier of entry for people to get that information as low as possible, aka free. You know, so I don't even have an opt-in page anymore. Like I don't make people opt in to get shit. It's just everything is free right there in the form of the ads. They consume that goodwill content right there. And thing number three is constantly make offers. But make offers to the people that you have already demonstrated you can help by actually helping them through step number two, which is put that messaging out there. And that's it. If you just do those three things, sometimes it's going to be a pain in the ass. And then eventually you'll hit on something that's pretty hot, and stay focused, keep doing it. Your goal.
Man, I love it. You know, one thing that you and I have in common is taking big complex things and making them really simple, because, you know, the Navy has this saying, keep it simple, stupid. And I've stolen that from them ethically and changed it to keeping it simple sells. And it really does, you know, and I say this a lot, Frank, like the internet marketing, which my crowd back here are typical business owners. They're real estate agents, loan officers, insurance agents. They're not the internet marketing crowd for the most part. And so, you know, the internet marketing crowd has turned these sales funnels into what MySpace was in 2005. And remember MySpace, you showed up on a page and all of a sudden it started playing Nickelback, and your cursor on your mouse turned into like a unicorn that was shit and glitter, and you had your top 8 and all this HTML stuff. And people got frustrated with that and they left in droves for Facebook because it was very simple. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's one of the reasons I created Phone Sites, which is my landing page company, because like
how's that doing, by the way? Is that still just ridiculously crushing it?
3,400 users actually right now.
Are you tired of money at this point? Or are you like, I don't even know what to do with it now? I'm just tired of it.
You know, hell, keep buying Rolls Royces and shit.
There you go.
It's your fucking fault. So anyway, I drove your Wraith one time and I'm like, damn it. That's how you get me. Is like, buy my stuff, buy my cars, buy the house I live in. Like, I see what you're doing to me, Frank, but I'm very grateful for it.
You're the second client who's done. I've taken Matt Zagula to the damn store to pick up a Bentley. I'm like, let's go. Come on, let's get one right now. And he's like, all right, fuck it. And he got one. So you're number 2. These people should pay me a commission, or at least give me a discount.
My wife says, well, when our lease is up on our Escalade, do you think we can get a Cullinan? I'm like, fuck it, why not, right? So
yeah, man. Should.
Why not? There's plenty of room in that thing. Sure, I don't see any reason not to, right? So but you know, they've turned the internet marketing crowd's always fiending for the next widget, the next countdown timer, the next unicorn cursor with Nickelback playing in the background and all this stuff. And to the actual person that's buying that stuff that's not an internet marketer, that shit's confusing, leaves them with more decisions to make, and actually messes up the sale for people. And people have these complicated funnels with all these different flashing widgets and stuff like that, and they don't understand that could actually be hurting their business. It's not he who has the best funnel makes the most money. It's he who has the best offer in front of the best audience with the best actual product that makes the most money. Wouldn't you agree?
I would. And I would put the relationship with the market as higher than even having the best product. Not that you wouldn't want to, but if like, dude, like I'll give you an example of where the heck were we going? It was some I can't remember the restaurant, but the restaurant did not have it's somewhere in the Wynn. And it wasn't as good as somewhere that was outside of the Wynn. But I'm so enamored with Steve Wynn as a leader of a company. I had to follow him on stage one time. It was horrible. Like the last thing you want to do is be the guy after Steve Wynn, So, but I'm like, this guy's the coolest dude I've ever seen. So I always stay at the Wynn, love everything. I have this relationship with him in my mind. I don't know him, where I'm going to go to his stuff, even though the place is a sushi place or something down at MGM is actually better. But I just like Steve Wynn. I'm like, I ain't going to go. So, that whole, and that's, I think what's going on is people think that technology, which is useful. I mean, dude, we're internet people, so I'm not knocking tech by any means, but technology is never going to replace the ability to build a real relationship with people. It can only enhance it. And what the funnel crowds are missing is they're trying to replace it instead of enhance it with tech. And please keep doing that, funnel people. You know what I mean? Like, don't start getting it right. Get another thing, like get a second countdown timer above the first one, and then like have that one rotate. No, have that one kind of wobble. That's the secret to everything. Keep doing that.
It's the blue button that converts, not the green.
The blue one, dude. My page at Kern Branding converts at 0.7%. Horrible. Don't care, because I ain't in the conversion business. I'm in the capital multiplication business. We spent 87 G's on ads and brought in 130 grand a month in clients, plus another 38,000 times 4 in private clients. So whatever that number is, that's what I care about. So what all of that complexity does is take you away from simple arithmetic and multiplication. And the money is in the calculator. It's not in the damn, let me get another tool or something.
You taught me that early on. No offense, but you've always had the shittiest, most simple sales pages and web pages on the internet. And so does Agora. So does Stansberry. So do all the companies that make a shit ton of money. It's not complicated. And early on in my career, I was like, look, I don't have to be the best funnel maker. I just have to be the guy that can present an offer in front of the right audience that solves a problem and ultimately delivers the value that they were expecting and then some, and they'll stay with me for life. And there's plenty of people in this program that have been with me for 5 or 6 years and bought multiple products just like I am to you. And it's very, very, very true what you're saying. And the fact that I've given you, we won't discuss live here on the air, but
there's no point in stopping.
Proves that. I don't plan on stopping.
Yeah, don't stop now.
I'm too far to go back now, sir.
That's right. Eventually it'll work. It's got to.
Well, Frank, I respect your time, and I want to thank you for, I know you don't do things like this often. You're not the typical guy to get on everybody's podcast and water down your brand and just like be easily accessible. I know you're a level 100 introvert. And you don't even like being in the public spotlight. Anyway, that's just something you have to endure to make the money and lifestyle that you make, man. And first, I appreciate you as a business and personal mentor. Second, I appreciate you as a human being who has been a significant impact on my life and introduced me to people like Dr. Pratt and everything else, who I've sent, at least a dozen people over to see that guy. I'm sure he loves both of us very well. Yeah. And I just want to thank you for taking your time away from your family, because I know that's important and everything else. So thanks for this evening, man. It really means the world to me. As you know, I'm down for whatever you need. I've told you anything that you need, business, personal wise, or whatever, I'm always here for you, man. And I can't thank you enough and tell you how much I really love and appreciate what you've done for me over the years.
Well, thanks, man. And really congratulations on that text you sent your first wife there. That is inspiring. Not many people do that. So that's a big deal. And thank all of y'all who are watching, because I can't see what's going on Facebook. So it's just me and you, which I forget that like other people are watching this. So hopefully we didn't say anything too stupid, but thanks y'all for watching, and keep up the good work, everybody out there. And same to you, man. Keep crushing it. And you're coming out to see me soon, I would assume.
Yeah, here in a couple weeks. I'll be up there with Brooks. So
nice. Oh, the OG gang's coming.
OG. What, you know, she lives up the street from me now. She's been to my office. She moved to Texas. When I was there, I closed her on getting to Texas. I was like, oh, you don't need to be out here paying all them damn taxes and stuff.
Dude, she's doing it. She's like, you're an idiot for living in California. And I'm like, I am an idiot for living in California. But, so you're right. But I don't know if I can do Texas, man. I don't know.
You were here just a couple of days ago, and you were like, "Oh no, dude, it is so hot there." And I'm like, "Dude,
unbelievable how hot that shit is." Or just, you know, that's why you're thin. It's because you're sweating it all out. You just walk out, you go to the mailbox and lose 15 pounds.
Well, one last thing I want to do to help you out is if you look behind you, I think Charlie Murphy might have came and marked his territory in your office a couple times since we've been on here, so you might want to check that out. I have seen him cruise in, disappear for a minute, and cruise back out.
Charlie got popped up on drugs, man. He got attacked.
Fuck your couch!
He's recovering though. Here he is beside me. Yeah, he had to go to the vet, dude. He got outside, but got attacked by coyotes.
Oh, I saw that. I saw you talk about that. Yeah.
And then he had to get his teeth pulled out because he fought the coyotes and his teeth were loose. I was like, man, we got to pull them out. They're fucked up. So Charlie's all jacked up. He's like, hey, man, I love y'all.
Well, you know, like, side note, Joe Rogan had some coyotes break into his chicken coop, and he sat on his back porch and shot them bastards with a bow and arrow for about a week. They don't mess with his chickens no more.
Yeah, I bet not.
So,
like a coyote, asshole.
Well, tell Natalia and the family I said hello. Thank you very much, Frank. Have a great evening, and I appreciate you sharing some wisdom with our people here tonight, man.
All right, homie. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye, all y'all on the Facebooks and the YouTubes.
If you need anything else, hit me up, homie.
All right, baby. I'll